There you go. You are live, Rob, whenever you're ready.
All right, thank you. So I'm Rob Barton. I'm the Vice President of Sales for Testforce USA. Testforce is a master distributor for a wide range of different test and measurement products. We are relatively new to the US. We've been doing this for about 3 years in the United States, but the company itself has been in business for over, well, getting close to 30 years now, based in Canada. But we have a couple operations in the US that we're expanding into. So, what I'd like to do is just kind of give you kind of a quick overview of the product lines that we carry. I think before I get into that, the one thing that's unique about Testforce for the public safety market is in the past, there hasn't been a centralized resource for public safety officials or technicians, engineers from a radio communication standpoint to go to get access to a wide range of different test instruments. So we're unique in that aspect. We're all technical. All of my guys are engineers first, sales guys second, but we basically have the ability to go in and not only look at a scenario that you're having potential problems with, be it radio test, cable fault, interference issues, you name it. We can come in, we can actually make a recommendation for the type of products that you need. And you're not forced to have to go through multiple different people to try and figure out who do you need, what's available from a test equipment standpoint. We're kind of a one-stop shop there from a standpoint of being able to bring you um, all your test equipment needs. Not 100%, but probably 85 or 90%. So with that, I'll go through the kind of our product line. So we have a number of different products. We are authorized by Viavi. We have the industry standard, which is the 3920B. That product is approved by every major OEM out there. So this is a radio test set that you would use to test and align your APX, Harris radios, XL200Ps or the NX5000s from Kenwood. All the major OEMs approve that product. We also carry the 8800SX, which is kind of the little brother to the 3920, but it also has some additional capabilities for doing extended distance fault testing, cable sweeping, and all that. The interesting thing about both these products, they both support the auto test and alignment packages, which basically means the manual mode of testing radios kind of goes out the door. You can still do it with these, but you hook up the radio, hook up the cable to the antenna port, hook up a programming cable, push a button, go get a cup of coffee, come back in 5 minutes, your radio is tested and aligned. So these are the industry standards there. In addition to that, we have handheld test systems. We do a lot of work with STI on field mapping for signal coverage. And we also have systems and solutions for doing indoor mapping, which is beginning to be more of a area of interest for a lot of people, right? And I know it's big in California, but other places as well, really starting to come into its own. In addition to the Viavi product lines and the signal mapping coverage capabilities, we have a wide range of handheld cable fault, be it vector network analyzers, spectrum analyzers. We have handhelds that go up to 31 gig. So if anybody's dealing with microwave backhaul issues, we can support you there. We have power supplies, power meters, oscilloscopes. In addition, we also have some additional power meters. We have some unique solutions from a standpoint of being able to maximize your procurement dollar. And when I say that, most people are very familiar with just purchasing a product, making sure it's on contract or whatever. But in the event that you do not have a budget for the equipment and you have an immediate need, Testforce is one of the only people in the United States that offers leasing options for municipalities. And there's some things about that that have to be done legally. And we have the ability to go ahead and set up lease programs for municipalities to make sure that we're doing everything correctly and legally. Okay, so that's it from a kind of an overall product line. There's a couple new products that we brought in just very recently I wanted to make you aware of. One of them really, one of the things that I'm seeing in the market out there is there are kind of two hot button issues. Number one is interference. The other one is mapping, indoor mapping. We kind of talked about that a little bit, but interference. Let's talk a little bit about interference. Interference is becoming a much bigger issue. We've got situations where the FCC is deregulating certain frequency spectrum bands, opening it up to wider bandwidth data applications for commercial use. There's issues with DAS systems. There's starting to be a really big issue with DAS systems that are not terminated properly or not at all, effectively becoming a jammer, right? Co-agency or next door agency ingress or into your spectrum, that's a big deal. So one of the things that we've recently brought out earlier this year was something that we call the Signal Monitoring Solutions Chasm, and that's a continuous automated autonomous signal or spectrum monitoring. And what this system does is it gives the operation, public safety operations, the ability to go in and monitor their spectrum, right, to make sure that there's wide range of things you can use it for, but the primary one is interference or channel occupancy, right, or just overall noise floor, which is getting to be a big problem out there as well. So this system has the ability to go in and look at spectrum in a live mode, right? But in addition, we're feeding those spectrum traces directly to memory, okay? So why is that important? Well, interference never happens when you're there or when you're getting the phone call or directly after you get the phone call saying, I've got an interference problem or something's going on with this particular channel. Usually it's the police chief calling you up in the morning saying at 3 o'clock last night, 3 a.m. this morning, channel 6 was totally unusable. What the heck is going on? Well, this system gives you the ability to not only look at a particular channel, but also record the trace data so that you can go back in time and look at it and then very quickly respond back to the police chief or whoever's inquiring saying, look, we looked at it, there's nothing there. I'm not sure what's going on, or yeah, we did, we saw something there. And that ability to go back in time, you can think of it as a DVR, gives you the ability now to go back and not only look at if there was an issue there, but also do some analysis on that and figure out what's going on. So you can see here, this particular system, we're actually doing, this is a typical spectrum analysis tool where you're doing peak hold and looking at the channel in question. And you can see what's happening. And here, for example, we've got a pulsed carrier coming in on and off at a particular rated time. You can look at that. Or where you might expect to see channel spectrum, you don't see anything, but there's something bumping along there, right? So you can go back in time and look at it, and you can look at actually the duration and the frequency width or span of the channel that, or the interferer that's coming into your channel. So in addition to that spectrum viewer capability, we also have something called Capture and Overwatch. And Capture and Overwatch allows you to set up a monitor for each of your active channels or inactive channels or channels that you just want to look at, right? But in addition to each one of the channels that you're looking at, you can also look at a wide band spectrum view of the your entire frequency bands that you're operating in. And the reason that's important is, number one, you can look at each channel, but interference, yeah, sometimes it kind of comes in and sits on a particular channel, but a lot of times it doesn't. It'll actually walk through your channel spectrum where you're actually seeing it kind of stomp on a number of channels at one particular moment, right? So it could be a broadband interferer, or it could be moving through particular channels. This wideband mode gives you the ability to see that. Now, some additional things too is you can use the Capture and Overwatch to look at channel occupancy rates. So when you look at channel occupancy rates, this kind of gives you indication as to whether or not my system is being ultimately optimized for use within the spectrum that I have, or potentially look at another block of spectrum saying, hey, this is something that's available out there that's not being utilized. I wonder if there's a way that we can use that to kind of expand our channel capacity. So very powerful tool from that perspective. The most exciting thing about this particular tool, though, I think, is what we have called Chasm Geo. Now, the unit itself can be a standalone single device that you can actually go out and use to isolate interference issues. You can put it on a network, right? Kind of monitor things. And then when you have a problem, simply unplug it, fully portable, battery operated, and you can take it out in the field and use it to hunt down an interferer. Alternatively, you could get, we call our Geo system, which would require 4. Theoretically, 3 is kind of where the theoretical minimum number of receivers. In practicality, it's 4. But when you have those and you have them strategically positioned within your network, you can now go in and isolate not only if you have interference, but the source of the interference. And it might be kind of hard to see here, but this particular map right now, we're using something called time difference of arrival technology that looks at all the particular carriers of the interferer coming in to each one of the receivers and then calculates where that bad guy is, where that interferer is. And the great thing about this is it doesn't have to be live. You can go back and do geolocation on stored signals, on history. And that is a huge issue for guys today because, number one, it never is on when you're out, when you need it to be on. And number two, now you can get very quickly isolate down to a geographic region where that source of interference is coming from. So exciting product there. We have the ability to go in and network this if you need to have it on a server system, if you want to keep historical data or multiple users, that's capability as well. So that's kind of it for our signal monitoring. One product that we just recently picked up is the PCTEL indoor mapping receiver. So we already have indoor mapping and outside mapping. Those particular software packages typically rely on a test instrument or a radio. The PCTEL product actually has its own receiver. So this is for indoor mapping applications where you need to document what your public safety frequency coverage is within a particular building. So this is new for us anyway. They've been around for about 3 or 4 years, and we've been repping them up in Canada for a few months and are now just bringing this into the US market. So some exciting stuff there. Everybody's going to be getting into indoor mapping. That's just kind of where things are going, and it makes sense. The other thing I wanted to bring up, which is new, is what we call our Testforce APX auto test and alignment kits for the Viavi radio test sets. So if we have some technical members that are on this call, one of the probably more frustrating things, you invest in an instrument like the 3920 from Viavi or the 8800SX, and you want to hook it up and test your radio, but you don't have all the interconnect cables. Well, now you do. So this particular kit gives you a battery eliminator, because we highly recommend that you don't use a battery when doing automated test and alignment on your radios. You use a battery eliminator. And if you need a power supply, we can supply you with that too. It has the programming cables, the adapters and connectors, as well as the RF test cable that's documented with loss data across the entire spectrum or operational range of that cable. So this system is unique to Testforce. We've developed this for the market, and it's a very easy kit that you can put right next to your 3920 or 8800SX when you're doing automatic test and alignment. You got everything there that you need to move forward with. So that's about it. I might have gone through that a little bit quickly, but I appreciate the time that you did give me. I'd like to just kind of end with this as a recap. So why Testforce? 29 years of experience in test and measurement. We understand test and measurement in a wide range of different applications, RF and otherwise. We have a dedicated product line that includes the Viavi radio tests for doing automated test and alignment for Motorola APX radios, XDS, XTL, Harris radios, Kenwood, ICOM, BK, you name it. We pretty much cover with those products all the major players out there. Spectrum analyzers, vector network analyzers, power supplies, scopes, interference monitoring, indoor mapping, auto test kits. We also, again, have the unique procurement options for municipalities, which has what they call the non-appropriation clause. So if you don't have an operational budget or you don't have a capital budget, you can go to an operational budget to get the equipment that you need. And the final thing is we have technical account managers that we're here to provide solutions for your test equipment needs. So that's it. I'll open it up for questions.
Great, thank you, Rob. Are there any questions we have for Rob today? Rob, where should they go for more information?
They can go to www.testforce.com.
Excellent. And then looks like, I think that's Paul from the city of Roseville, if I'm reading that correctly. Ask a question in the chat. Does your test kit for the 8800SX come with JVC, Kenwood, EFJ, Viking radios?
Not currently, but we're working on that. Right now, we've got the APX radios, but we'll be expanding that out to include the Kenwoods, the NX5000 series, as well as some of the Harris radios. So stay tuned.
Great, thank you. Excellent. Anyone else? Okay, then. I'm going to end the recording here, and we have a couple minutes to the next presenter.